When I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned.
One of the heads of one of the biggest Israeli propaganda political organizations on the planet, Andrew Kolvet, just admitted that the chat disclosure from CANDACE OWENS yesterday is authentic, legitimate, and came from him. We're going to take a look at this. We got some serious questions along the way because to me, this really makes Andrew look bad.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by CANDACE OWENS. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friend's trust in that way.
Now that sounds legitimate, believable, and honorable, but we're going to poke holes in all of that in just a minute.
But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone. And that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug.
That's exactly what it looks like up to this point, Andrew. And the only reason it sounds like you're coming out with this is because CANDACE is telling the truth before you're willing to reckon with the truth. So Andrew Kolvet admitting the texts are real means that he knew CANDACE and Charlie were still close, even though Eric Bolling said that they weren't. These texts show that Charlie wasn't cutting ties with CANDACE, that he was actually doubling down and he was going to invite CANDACE. And Andrew had the proof the whole time, yet he stayed silent and he didn't offer any word of correction.
Early on, 2011, 2012, 2013, they were tight. They grew TPUSA like crazy. I was shocked to see her leave, and her theories got just a little bit too down the rabbit holes. It was too extreme for their taste. And Charlie, to his credit, kept a cordial friendship with her for years, but it hasn't been a communication pipeline back and forth between the two for many years. That's why I don't know why we give CANDACE Owens' assessment any weight at all.
You're on the board of Turning Point?
Yeah.
Okay. When's the last time you saw Candace Owens?
In person?
Yeah.
2015,
Oh,
2016.
wow. Okay. The last time she was at a Turning Point event?
Not in many years.
Okay. So
all that Candace Owens, nothing to do. She would be in a perfect world if they didn't have this, what I already know was quiet breakup where she got too rabbit hole for him. She would be the logical heir to the TPUSA throne.
She's not even invited.
Correct.
Not invited, meaning
she's not even there at the events anymore.
I mean,
what is Erica Kirk's relationship with Candace at this point? Is there a relationship?
I don't think so.
Why do you not think so?
I live in this world.
Okay.
I live in
you
this.
know this world. Tell us.
I don't see them together. Candace has created a lane for herself that it's her own lane. She wants to go after Macron's husband or wife or whatever you want to call him. It's cheap that she is sparking this up like she knows something between, something happened between Ackman and Charlie. For what reason?
In case you're lost or just as a refresher, let me remind you of what those texts said before we proceed. Charlie Kirk says, just lost another huge Jewish donor. $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody says, ugh. Charlie says, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. But somehow that massive and relevant piece of information wasn't something that Andrew thought that he would disclose to the public or to people who follow TPUSA. But wait, there's more.
And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah.
Then why are there so many stones that you haven't touched yet? And the only reason you're making this move right here is because it looks like Candace kind of forced your hand, Andrew. You could have said Candace was correct weeks ago while everybody was calling her a liar, but you didn't. As a matter of fact, this whole time, you made it look like you and everybody else at TPUSA isn't America first, they're Israel first. But they're not done.
So it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this.
Yeah.
And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately to be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware that in my role as spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, that things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation.
And the things you don't say or cover up could negatively impact the truth. Didn't you just say you're interested in uncovering and turning over every stone to see if we get the correct guilty party? But it seems like the more he talks, the worse it gets.
Right? But I will weigh in specifically on this issue of Israel because I know there's a lot of fascination. And I just want to say that, you know, we have to let free speech be our North Star here, okay? Charlie was adamantly free speech, and I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers, all right? And I will say that that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times, and I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel, what was he going to say. And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, in the wider movement about his wrestle that he was going.
Read this chat message from Charlie one more time and you tell me if you think what Andrew Colvett just said is true. Where have you ever heard Charlie say in public that he is considering leaving the pro-Israel cause? Where did he ever say Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes? Yeah, he mentioned being bullied by people who would call he or Megyn Kelly anti-Semitic for criticizing Israel. But you never heard language that came even close to leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. These are the subtle lies that Candace Owens keeps talking about.
What's been bothering me in particular are the micro lies. It seems that they're suddenly in the business of telling micro lies, tiny little misrepresentations, tiny little half-truths that right out of the gate seems altogether unnecessary. It really makes me wonder, who are they protecting exactly?
Say, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months. And it's probably somewhere between the BB letter and the text group text.
I don't even think there's a between about it. I think those are entirely consistent with the exact same worldview. Yes. Charlie was not hiding things from people. People are going to try to make you fixate on a particular quote or a particular line to make you think that there was something hidden. There was nothing hidden about.
Wait a second. TPUSA and Erica Kirk and the FBI and the DOJ and Donald Trump and all of the U.S. government have tried to make us fixate on one particular line. It's a lone gunman. It's Tyler Robinson, 140 yards, 30-06, magic man of steel skeletal structure that stopped that bullet. Bullet found under the skin. It's these guys that are trying to cause us to fixate on just one line, the official government storyline, which equals no interest in the truth until Candace Owens starts stirring things up, and then they're going to start talking about it.
About Charlie's views on Israel. I worked with Charlie on every major issue that we talked about, immigration, abortion, the transgender stuff. And he thought about the Israel issue a ton, all the time. It was in the news all the time. People cared about it a lot. He cared about it a lot. Just before the shooting happened, I finished reading, this is a 700-page book about the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I read this book because Charlie said, Blake, get really well-versed on this so you can help me whenever it comes up and just know stuff off the top of your head.
Yeah.
So I read it for that reason. If you want to know Charlie's views on the Gaza war, he wanted the war to end. He didn't want America to take Palestinian refugees. He was annoyed when people advocated that.
He said he wanted it to end, but then he rallied all of TPUSA to elect Donald Trump, who clearly didn't want it to end. And even though he's doing things that make it look like it's a good thing right now, historically speaking, it's all just an additional layer to this psychological operation that keeps deceiving Americans into supporting more wars. But it seems like there's such a substantial amount of pushback on what Israel's doing to Gaza right now, we may be tipping the scales for once.
He didn't want American troops on the ground there or with any other war. And he was upset when he saw stories about churches being damaged or Christians being killed. But at the same time, he recognized Hamas started the war. Hamas could end the war. Israel ultimately represented European civilization. Hamas represented Middle Eastern barbarism. And Hamas was...
If that's true, I mean, and if Charlie still held to that, basically we're talking about the leaders of the Israeli government, the Zionists who want to take over the world, defeat and subjugate the Goy.
The chief evildoers and people who supported them were almost always supporting them for these bad, like anti-civilizational reasons.
Yeah.
That's what his view was. And he was public about that. And then as it continued, Charlie talked to young people all the time. He could see what was going on the internet. He could see among young conservatives, there was a big shift to be hostile to Israel. There was a shift big time on the left, but it was also visible on the right. He could tell anti-Semitism was rising in America, and that upset him. Charlie was public about this.
But that's crazy because most of what they call anti-Semitism is just people, individuals or groups of people rightly criticizing Israel and the evils they're doing in the Middle East and throughout the world. So there was still a deception rattling around in Charlie Kirk's mind with regard to Israel.
Loved Israel. He cared about Israel, and he cared about how that. Well, and he wanted to help the pro-Israel movement.
Yeah, and I want to play this. It's a long clip, but I said something on the Alex Clark show that was, in my mind, completely consistent with Charlie's public views about Israel. And that is something that he expressed very publicly on Megyn Kelly. Now, I know this clip has gone viral, but I think it's worth playing again. So here's Charlie in his own words with Megyn Kelly, cut 65.
And I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megyn, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. There's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megyn, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No.
We actually should go over that. If you guys are interested in me going over that debate between Dave Smith and Josh Hammer with Charlie Kirk, who I think did a really good job moderating that, let me know, because there's some nuggets that we need to talk about in there. We probably won't watch the whole thing. If we do, it'll be on a live stream and you guys can chime in and let me know what you guys think. But let me know in the comment section if you want me to go over that debate between Dave Smith and Josh Hammer with Charlie Kirk moderating.
You're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megyn. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megyn. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white. and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side.
So this text, this group chat text, he does say, that he is leaving him no choice but to leave the pro-Israel side. Here's what I want people to know. Charlie said these things publicly and privately to us, like that he was frustrated. He would say something like that, and then he would go in a public situation and he would strike a more moderate tone.
What he just said on Megyn Kelly, the clip he just played, is not Charlie Kirk saying, I'm leaving the pro-Israel cause. It's him voicing frustration at some within that group, calling him anti-Semitic when he says nothing could be further from the truth. He's totally into the Shabbat and all that Jewish religiosity, and he wants Israel to win. But nothing that he said on Megyn Kelly could be construed to equal, I'm leaving the pro-Israel cause. I'm leaving the pro-Israel cause is something new. It's not something he's been broadcasting like Andrew Colvett wants everybody to believe. He's being dishonest.
Micro lies, telling micro lies, tiny little misrepresentations.
And we can blow the brakes if we have to.
No, I wouldn't frame it that way. I would say he was frustrated because he didn't like... we can get into this actually once we get past the break here.
Well, no, it's fine. What I'm saying is he would be frustrated, but like the point when I say moderate tone, when he would say something off the cuff, maybe to you or to me or to some other friend, like his public statements, he would kind of strike just a little bit more tender tone, if you will. And so here's the thing. I looked at that moment as like he's just blown off steam. He's frustrated. He's venting, right? And I just want to say, like, he made that very clear under any circumstances that he was not going to be cowed or bullied into deplatforming Tucker, for example. He made that expressly clear to us. Would he have invited Candace? I have no idea. I think what he was saying in that text, he's like, keep coming at me, bro, and let's see what happens, right? And Charlie was wonderfully defiant. He was wonderfully independent, and he would not, he believed in the freedom of speech, and he felt like he deserved, as a friend of Israel over many years, the right to speak out.
I got an idea for you, Andrew. Why don't you start speaking the truth before Candace puts out the truth first? Because you responding to the truth without disclosing the truth makes you look really bad. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you want to support this channel, you can do it for free. Just like this video, share it with everybody you know, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, and stay tuned because, man, we got some bangers coming for you. We live in a disturbing illusion, and if I have enough time on this planet, I aim to expose them all. I will see you in the next video.